Events that only evolved souls experience. Introduction. Have you ever walked into a room full of people and immediately felt like you were surrounded by sleeping giants? Not because they were physically asleep, but because you could sense something profound lying dormant within them, something they seemed completely unaware of. In 1888, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky made a startling declaration that would forever change how we understand human consciousness. She revealed that among the billions of souls on Earth, only a small percentage have evolved to the point where they experience reality in ways that would seem impossible to ordinary human perception. But here's what will change everything you think you know about your own spiritual nature. If you've ever felt fundamentally different from everyone around you, if you've experienced phenomena that others dismiss as imagination, if you've carried knowledge you've never formally learned, you might be among these rare evolved souls. You're not mentally unstable. You're not making things up. You're experiencing the 8 unmistakable signs that your consciousness has evolved far beyond the ordinary human experience. And by the end of our time together, you'll not only recognize these signs, but understand the profound responsibility that comes with your spiritual evolution. Helena Blavatsky didn't just theorize about evolved souls. She lived as one and worked directly with others who had transcended ordinary human limitations. Through her communication with the Ascended Masters, she discovered that human consciousness evolves through distinct stages across multiple lifetimes. Most souls are still learning basic lessons about love, compassion, and spiritual truth. But evolved souls, those who have completed numerous incarnations of dedicated spiritual work, experience reality in fundamentally different ways. They don't just believe in spiritual principles, they directly perceive spiritual dimensions that remain invisible to others. According to Blavatsky's secret doctrine, we are currently living through an unprecedented time when these evolved souls are incarnating in greater numbers than ever before. They come not because they need to learn Earth's lessons, but because Earth needs their advanced spiritual capacities to guide humanity through its next evolutionary leap. The 8 experiences I'm about to share aren't just interesting phenomena, they're the operational signatures of consciousness that has developed beyond ordinary human limitations. If you recognize these experiences in your own life, you're discovering something profound about your true spiritual nature and cosmic mission. How do we know Blavatsky's teachings about evolved souls are accurate rather than elaborate fantasies? First, her documented abilities defied conventional explanation. She demonstrated phenomena that amazed even skeptical scientists, materializing objects, receiving communications from masters thousands of miles away, and accessing detailed knowledge about ancient civilizations that wouldn't be archaeologically confirmed until decades later. Second, the patterns she described are manifesting exactly as predicted. Across the globe, increasing numbers of individuals report experiencing the precise phenomena that Blavatsky said would indicate advanced soul development. These experiences are so consistent across cultures and backgrounds that they suggest genuine spiritual laws rather than cultural conditioning. Third, modern consciousness research is beginning to validate concepts that seemed impossible in Blavatsky's era. Studies of near-death experiences, psychic phenomena, and expanded states of consciousness provide scientific support for many principles she taught about the multidimensional nature of human awareness. The evolved souls Blavatsky described aren't mythical beings. They're walking among us right now, often unaware of their own spiritual advancement until they recognize the unmistakable signs. In the next hour, we'll explore 8 experiences that occur only in highly evolved souls. Each experience builds upon the previous ones, creating a complete portrait of advanced spiritual development. You'll discover why certain phenomena that others find impossible are perfectly natural for you, what your unusual experiences reveal about your soul's history, and most importantly, how to embrace and direct your evolved consciousness toward its highest purpose. By the end, you'll have both validation for experiences you may have questioned and practical guidance for living as an evolved soul in a world that's still spiritually awakening. Let's discover the 8 unmistakable signs of your spiritual evolution. Second, The patterns she described are manifesting exactly as predicted. Across the globe, increasing numbers of individuals report experiencing the precise phenomena that Blavatsky said would indicate advanced soul development. These experiences are so consistent across cultures and backgrounds that they suggest genuine spiritual laws rather than cultural conditioning. Third, modern consciousness research is beginning to validate concepts that seemed impossible in Blavatsky's era. Studies of near-death experiences, psychic phenomena, and expanded states of consciousness provide scientific support for many principles she taught about the multidimensional nature of human awareness. The evolved souls Blavatsky described aren't mythical beings. They're walking among us right now, often unaware of their own spiritual advancement until they recognize the unmistakable signs. In the next hour, we'll explore 8 experiences that occur only in highly evolved souls. Each experience builds upon the previous ones, creating a complete portrait of advanced spiritual development. You'll discover why certain phenomena that others find impossible are perfectly natural for you, what your unusual experiences reveal about your soul's history, and most importantly, how to embrace and direct your evolved consciousness toward its highest purpose. By the end, you'll have both validation for experiences you may have questioned and practical guidance for living as an evolved soul in a world that's still spiritually awakening. Let's discover the 8 unmistakable signs of your spiritual evolution. Experience 1. Spontaneous spiritual initiations. Have you ever had an experience so spiritually intense that it felt like your consciousness was being deliberately tested or upgraded, a crisis that seemed designed to force rapid spiritual growth, a moment when reality shifted so dramatically that you felt like you'd been initiated into a higher level of existence? This isn't random life chaos or psychological breakdown. According to Blavatsky's teachings, evolved souls undergo what she called spontaneous initiations, spiritual tests that occur without formal ceremony but with the same transformative power as ancient mystery school rituals. If you've experienced this, your soul has reached a level of development where it's ready for accelerated spiritual advancement. Blavatsky taught that spiritual evolution follows precise patterns. In mystery schools, students underwent formal initiations to test their readiness for advanced teachings. But evolved souls often experience these same initiatory processes spontaneously, without external teachers or formal structures. These spontaneous initiations serve multiple purposes. They test your spiritual stability under extreme conditions, accelerate your psychic development, and prepare you for greater spiritual responsibilities. The intensity of these experiences is calibrated precisely to your soul's capacity, challenging enough to produce growth, but not overwhelming enough to cause permanent damage. What distinguishes these from ordinary life crises is their transformative quality. Regular difficulties leave you essentially the same person with new coping skills. Spontaneous initiations fundamentally alter your consciousness, opening new perceptual abilities and deeper spiritual understanding. Blavatsky herself underwent multiple spontaneous initiations throughout her life. During her travels in Tibet, she experienced what she described as trials by fire, intense spiritual tests that activated latent psychic abilities and deepened her connection to the masters. One documented case involved her being lost in a blizzard for 3 days. Rather than simply surviving, she used the experience to practice conscious separation from the physical body, maintaining awareness while her consciousness traveled to receive teaching from Master Moria. She emerged with abilities she hadn't possessed before entering the storm. Modern examples abound of individuals experiencing sudden spiritual emergencies that transform them completely. Near-death experiences that awaken psychic abilities. Kundalini activations triggered by life crises. Spontaneous mystical experiences during periods of intense challenge. Research by Dr. Stanislav Grof documents thousands of cases where individuals undergoing psychological crisis actually experienced profound spiritual transformation, emerging with enhanced intuitive abilities and expanded consciousness. If you've experienced spontaneous spiritual initiations, here's how to work with them constructively. First, recognize them as advancement opportunities rather than random suffering. Ask, what spiritual capacity is this experience developing in me? Second, document your initiatory experiences and the abilities or insights that emerged from them. This creates a map of your soul's development process. Third, seek support from others who understand spiritual emergency. Not all therapists or counselors recognize the difference between psychological crisis and spiritual initiation. Spontaneous initiations prepare evolved souls for experiences that would overwhelm ordinary consciousness. But there's an even more direct sign of your spiritual advancement, one that operates continuously in the background of your awareness. Your consciousness has developed the ability to simultaneously exist in multiple dimensions of reality. And once you recognize this, everything about your unusual perceptions will finally make sense. Experience 2. Multidimensional consciousness. Do you sometimes feel like you're living in several realities simultaneously? Like part of your awareness is always somewhere else, observing from a higher perspective while your physical self goes through daily activities? Do you have conversations with people while simultaneously perceiving their energy fields, emotional states, and even glimpses of their past experiences? This isn't dissociation or mental fragmentation. According to Blavatsky's teachings, evolved souls naturally develop what she called multidimensional consciousness, the ability to maintain awareness across several planes of reality simultaneously. Your expanded perception isn't a disorder to be treated. It's a sign that your consciousness has evolved beyond the single-dimensional awareness that most humans experience. Blavatsky taught that reality exists on multiple interpenetrating planes: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Most people can only perceive the physical plane clearly, with occasional glimpses of other dimensions during dreams or peak experiences. But evolved souls develop the ability to maintain stable awareness across multiple planes simultaneously. While engaged in physical activities, they also perceive emotional energies, mental thought forms, and spiritual influences that remain invisible to others. This multidimensional awareness serves several functions. It provides access to information beyond physical senses, enables communication with non-physical beings, and allows participation in spiritual work that occurs on higher planes while the physical body sleeps or during meditation. Blavatsky demonstrated multidimensional consciousness throughout her life. She could simultaneously engage in physical conversations while receiving telepathic communications from the masters, often weaving their guidance into her spoken responses without missing a beat. Her ability to materialize letters from the masters wasn't just a psychic phenomenon. It demonstrated her capacity to function consciously on the plane where thought becomes physical form, then manifest that form on the physical plane. Contemporary research supports the reality of multidimensional awareness. Studies of advanced meditators show brain activity patterns suggesting simultaneous processing of information from multiple sources. Remote viewing research demonstrates that consciousness can gather accurate information from locations beyond physical senses. Individuals with highly developed psychic abilities consistently report awareness of multiple reality layers during ordinary activities. They see energy fields around people while having normal conversations, receive intuitive information while engaged in logical tasks, and maintain a connection with spiritual guides during mundane activities. To work effectively with multidimensional consciousness, practice maintaining dual awareness, stay present in physical reality while acknowledging information from other dimensions. Don't dismiss subtle perceptions as imagination. Develop discernment between different dimensional inputs. Learn to distinguish physical sensations, emotional energies, mental impressions, and spiritual communications. Create regular practices that honor your multidimensional nature, such as meditation that acknowledges all planes of your experience simultaneously. Multidimensional consciousness explains why you perceive so much more than others around you, but there's another way this expanded awareness manifests that might surprise you, and it involves your relationship with time itself. Evolved souls don't experience time the way ordinary humans do. Your consciousness has access to what Blavatsky called eternal time, and this gives you abilities that seem impossible from a linear perspective. Experience 3. Non-linear time perception. Do you sometimes know things are going to happen before they occur? Not through logical prediction, but through direct knowing. Have you experienced moments where past, present, and future seem to exist simultaneously? Do you feel like you're remembering future events rather than predicting them? This isn't psychic ability in the traditional sense. According to Blavatsky's teachings, evolved souls develop what she called cosmic time consciousness, direct perception of time as it truly exists, rather than the linear illusion experienced by ordinary human awareness. Your unusual relationship with time is evidence that your consciousness has evolved to perceive reality from a higher dimensional perspective. Blavatsky taught that linear time is an illusion of physical existence. On higher planes of reality, all moments exist simultaneously in what she called eternal now. Evolved souls develop the ability to access this eternal perspective while remaining functional in linear time. This non-linear time perception manifests in several ways: precognitive knowledge that arrives as memory rather than prediction, the ability to understand the eternal patterns behind temporal events, and direct perception of how past actions create future consequences. From this expanded time perspective, evolved souls can see the larger patterns governing individual lives and collective human evolution, enabling them to make decisions based on eternal principles rather than temporary circumstances. This temporal expansion serves crucial functions for evolved souls. It allows them to understand their current incarnation within the context of their soul's entire evolutionary journey. It enables them to perceive the perfect timing of spiritual opportunities and challenges. Most importantly, it helps them recognize their role in humanity's larger evolutionary pattern. Blavatsky demonstrated extraordinary precognitive abilities throughout her life. She predicted specific historical events decades before they occurred, including 2 world wars, the rise of Soviet communism, and the emergence of the modern spiritual awakening movement. But what distinguished her predictions from ordinary psychic prophecy was their quality of certainty. She didn't describe these as possibilities. She spoke of them as memories of events that had already occurred from the perspective of eternal time. Her communications with the masters often included references to the plan, a vast pattern of human development that extends across centuries and is visible to consciousness operating from an eternal time perspective. Modern physics supports concepts that seemed impossible in Blavatsky's era. Quantum mechanics suggests that all possible moments exist simultaneously, with consciousness selecting which timeline to experience. Research into precognition shows statistical significance for humans accessing information about future events. Advanced spiritual practitioners consistently report experiences of expanded time consciousness during deep meditation or mystical states, describing direct perception of past and future events as equally real and accessible. To work constructively with non-linear time perception, practice distinguishing between linear thinking and eternal knowing. Notice when information about future events arrives with the quality of memory rather than speculation. Use your expanded time sense for spiritual service. Understanding the eternal patterns behind temporal situations helps you offer more effective guidance to others. Balance eternal perspective with present moment effectiveness. Your non-linear time awareness serves your earthly mission, not as an escape from temporal responsibility. Non-linear time perception reveals that your consciousness operates from a cosmic perspective. But there's an even more direct way this cosmic awareness manifests in daily life. You've probably noticed that your emotional responses to global events feel strangely personal, as if humanity's collective experiences are happening to you individually. This isn't excessive empathy. It's a sign that your consciousness has evolved to include the entire human collective within your personal awareness. Experience 4. Collective Consciousness Immersion. Do you feel global events in your physical body as if they were happening to you personally? When there's collective trauma, natural disasters, wars, social upheaval, do you experience unexplained emotional intensity or even physical symptoms? Do you sometimes wake up carrying emotions that don't belong to your personal experience, but seem connected to humanity's collective state. This isn't psychological absorption or news overwhelm. According to Blavatsky's teachings, evolved souls develop what she called collective consciousness immersion, direct participation in humanity's shared psychic field. Your intense connection to collective human experience is evidence that your consciousness has expanded beyond individual boundaries to include the entire species within your sphere of awareness. Blavatsky taught that all human consciousness exists within a unified field that she called the collective soul of humanity. Most people participate in this field unconsciously, influenced by collective emotions and thoughts without realizing it. But evolved souls develop conscious access to the collective field, experiencing humanity's joys and sufferings as directly as their own personal emotions. This expansion of consciousness serves several purposes. It provides information about humanity's spiritual needs, creates compassion based on direct experience rather than intellectual understanding, and enables evolved souls to transmit healing energy into the collective field. This collective immersion explains why evolved souls often feel compelled to serve humanity's awakening. They literally experience human suffering as a personal emergency and human spiritual progress as personal fulfillment. Blavatsky experienced collective consciousness immersion intensely throughout her life. During periods of global conflict or social upheaval, she would become physically ill, experiencing symptoms that had no personal cause but corresponded exactly to collective trauma. Her writings during the American Civil War describe feeling the agony of a nation tearing itself apart as physical pain in her body. During the 1871 Paris Commune, she experienced what she called the death throes of old social forms as par excellence spiritual crisis. But rather than seeing this as personal pathology, she understood it as evidence of her soul's expansion beyond individual boundaries. The masters confirmed that her collective sensitivity was both a sign of her spiritual development and qualification for her mission as a teacher. Contemporary research validates the reality of collective consciousness fields. Studies show that global events create measurable changes in random number generators worldwide, suggesting that collective human consciousness affects physical reality. Research into mass meditation demonstrates that groups of advanced practitioners can measurably influence crime rates and social harmony in surrounding areas. Individuals with high empathic sensitivity consistently report physical symptoms during global tragedies, emotional states that correspond to collective rather than personal experiences, and compulsive drives to contribute healing energy during times of widespread suffering. To work effectively with collective consciousness immersion, learn to distinguish between personal emotions and collective energies you're processing. Ask, is this feeling mine, or am I sensing something in the collective field? Use your collective sensitivity for service rather than suffering. When you feel humanity's pain, respond by transmitting healing energy, compassion, or elevated consciousness into the collective field. Practice energetic protection during times of intense global trauma. Visualize yourself as a clear channel for healing energy rather than a sponge absorbing collective negativity. Connect with other evolved souls who understand collective sensitivity. Working together amplifies your ability to positively influence the collective field. Collective consciousness immersion reveals that your individual awareness encompasses all of humanity. But there's an even more profound way your consciousness has evolved beyond ordinary limitations. You've probably experienced moments of communicating with beings who don't exist in physical form and receiving guidance that proves remarkably accurate and helpful. This isn't imagination or wishful thinking. Evolved souls naturally develop the ability to consciously communicate with what Blavatsky called the Brotherhood of Light, ascended beings who guide human spiritual evolution. Experience 5. Direct guidance from ascended beings. Have you ever received guidance during meditation or prayer that was so clear, wise, and distinctly different from your own thinking that it seemed to come from a more advanced intelligence? Do you sometimes feel the presence of invisible teachers who offer instruction about spiritual matters? Have you experienced communication with beings who seem to exist beyond physical form, but provide remarkably practical guidance for your earthly challenges. This isn't mental illness or wishful thinking. According to Blavatsky's teachings, evolved souls naturally develop the ability to receive direct communication from what she called the Masters of Wisdom, ascended beings who have completed human evolution and now serve as guides for those still developing. Your experiences of invisible guidance are evidence that your consciousness has evolved to the level where advanced spiritual beings can work with you directly. Blavatsky taught that human spiritual evolution is guided by a hierarchy of ascended masters who have completed their own human development and now serve as teachers for souls still incarnating in physical form. These beings don't interfere with human free will, but they do provide guidance to individuals whose consciousness has developed enough to receive and apply their instruction wisely. Communication with ascended beings occurs through several channels: direct telepathic transmission during meditation, intuitive guidance that arrives with distinctive clarity and wisdom, symbolic communication through dreams or visions, and synchronistic events that provide unmistakable direction. This guidance serves multiple purposes, accelerating the individual's spiritual development, providing instruction for specific service missions, and coordinating the work of evolved souls incarnated on Earth for collective spiritual purposes. Blavatsky's entire mission was based on direct communication with ascended masters. Her primary teachers, Master Morya and Master Kuthumi, provided detailed instruction about establishing the Theosophical Society, writing the secret doctrine, and preparing humanity for its next evolutionary phase. These communications weren't vague spiritual platitudes. They included specific information about historical events, detailed metaphysical teachings, and practical guidance for her daily activities. The Master's letters, many of which still exist, demonstrate knowledge and wisdom far beyond Blavatsky's personal education or experience. What distinguished these communications from ordinary psychic channeling was their consistent quality, practical effectiveness, and alignment with ancient wisdom traditions. The guidance she received proved accurate in its predictions and transformative in its spiritual teachings. Contemporary examples include individuals who receive ongoing guidance from advanced beings during meditation, prayer, or contemplative states. These communications often include information the individual couldn't have accessed through normal means, guidance that proves remarkably effective, and teaching that demonstrates wisdom beyond the person's current level of development. Research into exceptional human experiences documents numerous cases of individuals receiving guidance from sources that appear to exist beyond ordinary consciousness, with results that suggest genuine communication rather than psychological projection. To develop conscious communication with ascended beings, create regular periods of receptive silence through meditation or contemplative prayer. Advanced beings communicate most clearly when the mind is quiet and open. Develop discernment between genuine spiritual guidance and your own psychological projections. True guidance from ascended beings has distinctive qualities. It's wise rather than emotionally reactive, practical rather than grandiose, and always aligned with service to others rather than personal aggrandizement. Apply the guidance you receive and observe its effectiveness. Authentic communication from advanced beings produces positive results in your spiritual development and service capacity. Request guidance specifically about your spiritual mission and how to serve humanity's awakening more effectively. Ascended beings are most likely to communicate with souls who are genuinely committed to spiritual service. Direct guidance from ascended beings indicates that your consciousness has evolved to levels where advanced spiritual entities can work with you directly. But there's another sign of your spiritual advancement that operates continuously in your daily interactions with others. You've probably noticed that you can sense things about people that they haven't told you, their emotional states, their spiritual needs, even aspects of their soul's development. This isn't ordinary intuition. It's what Blavatsky called soul reading, the ability to perceive the eternal aspects of other beings directly. Experience 6. Direct soul perception. Can you look at people and immediately sense their level of spiritual development? Do you sometimes know things about others' life purposes, karmic patterns, or soul challenges without being told? When you meet someone for the first time, do you often feel like you're recognizing an eternal aspect of them that transcends their current personality? This isn't psychological analysis or cold reading. According to Blavatsky's teachings, evolved souls develop what she called soul sight, the ability to perceive the eternal spiritual essence of other beings beyond their temporary personalities and circumstances. Your capacity to see others' souls directly is evidence that your consciousness has developed beyond personality-level awareness to perceive the immortal aspects of human nature. Blavatsky taught that every human being has both a temporary personality that changes with each incarnation and an eternal soul that persists across lifetimes. Most people can only perceive others at the personality level, their current thoughts, emotions, and behavioral patterns. But evolved souls develop the ability to perceive others at the soul level, recognizing their eternal spiritual nature, current stage of development, karmic patterns, and spiritual mission. This soul perception operates through direct spiritual sight rather than intellectual analysis or psychic impression. Soul perception serves several crucial functions. It enables evolved souls to offer guidance that addresses others' deeper spiritual needs rather than surface concerns, helps them recognize other evolved souls working on similar missions, and allows them to see the divine potential in all beings regardless of their current personality limitations. Blavatsky demonstrated remarkable soul perception abilities throughout her life. She could meet individuals and immediately understand their spiritual development level, karmic challenges, and soul mission. Her guidance to students was based on seeing their eternal nature rather than their temporary personality traits. One documented case involved her meeting a young man who appeared to be an ordinary society gentleman. Within minutes of conversation, she recognized him as an advanced soul who had incarnated to contribute to spiritual education. She encouraged him to develop his latent teaching abilities, and he later became a prominent theosophical lecturer. Her ability to recognize other evolved souls enabled her to gather the specific individuals needed to establish the theosophical movement. She didn't recruit based on personality compatibility or intellectual agreement, but on recognizing souls whose eternal nature qualified them for spiritual work. Contemporary examples include spiritual teachers and counselors who demonstrate an uncanny ability to understand their students' deeper spiritual needs immediately upon meeting them. They often describe seeing through personality presentations to recognize the eternal soul beneath. Research into exceptional perception abilities documents individuals who can accurately assess others' psychological and spiritual states through brief encounters, accessing information that suggests perception beyond ordinary sensory input. To develop and use soul perception responsibly, practice looking for the eternal in every person you encounter. Ask, what does this soul need for its development, rather than focusing only on personality-level interactions. Develop compassion based on soul sight rather than personality judgment. When you see others' eternal nature, even difficult personalities become understandable as souls working through specific lessons. Use your soul perception to offer guidance that addresses spiritual needs rather than just surface concerns. People are often hungry for recognition of their deeper nature, respect others' privacy and free will. Soul perception is for understanding and service, not for invading privacy or manipulating others. Soul perception reveals that you can see beyond personality to eternal spiritual essence. But there's one more sign of evolved consciousness that might be the most significant of all. You've probably noticed an almost compulsive drive to understand the deepest mysteries of existence, not casual curiosity, but an irresistible hunger for ultimate truth that feels essential to your spiritual survival. This isn't intellectual ambition. It's your evolved soul's recognition that you've reached the stage of development where cosmic mysteries become personally relevant rather than abstract philosophy. Experience. 7. Cosmic mystery compulsion. Do you feel an almost desperate need to understand the ultimate nature of reality? Are you compulsively drawn to study the deepest spiritual mysteries, the origin of consciousness, the structure of cosmic evolution, the purpose of existence itself. Does learning about these subjects feel less like intellectual curiosity and more like recovering essential knowledge you once possessed? This isn't academic interest or philosophical speculation. According to Blavatsky's teachings, evolved souls develop what she called cosmic hunger, an irresistible drive to understand universal principles because their consciousness has reached the level where these mysteries become personally relevant rather than abstract concepts. Your compulsion to understand cosmic truth is evidence that your soul has evolved to the point where it needs this knowledge for its continued development and service mission. Blavatsky taught that spiritual development occurs in stages, with each stage requiring different types of knowledge. Early-stage souls need to learn basic lessons about love, compassion, and ethical behavior. But evolved souls need to understand the fundamental principles governing cosmic evolution, consciousness development, and their role in the universal plan. This cosmic knowledge isn't philosophical luxury. It's a practical necessity for souls working at advanced levels of spiritual service. Understanding how consciousness evolves across cosmic cycles helps evolved souls recognize their mission within the larger pattern. Knowledge of universal laws enables them to work more effectively with spiritual forces. Comprehension of cosmic purpose provides context for individual spiritual challenges and opportunities. The intensity of your drive to understand these mysteries reflects your soul's recognition that this knowledge is essential for your current level of spiritual work. You're not studying cosmic principles for intellectual satisfaction. You're recovering operational knowledge needed for your service mission. Blavatsky's own life demonstrates this cosmic mystery compulsion perfectly. From childhood, she was obsessed with understanding the deepest questions about existence, not from casual curiosity, but from what she described as desperate spiritual necessity. Her travels to Tibet weren't adventure-seeking. They were driven by her soul's recognition that she needed specific cosmic knowledge to fulfill her mission. The 7 years she spent studying with the masters were dedicated to understanding universal principles that most humans wouldn't need for many lifetimes. The resulting teachings in the secret doctrine weren't intellectual philosophy. They were practical operating manuals for souls working at advanced levels of spiritual service. The complexity of her cosmic teachings reflects the advanced level of knowledge needed by evolved souls. Contemporary examples include individuals who feel compelled to study advanced metaphysics, quantum physics, consciousness research, and ancient wisdom traditions with an intensity that goes far beyond normal intellectual interest. They often describe feeling like they're remembering rather than learning. Many report that this cosmic knowledge becomes immediately applicable to their spiritual work, suggesting that the drive to understand comes from genuine need rather than abstract curiosity. To work effectively with cosmic mystery compulsion, trust your spiritual instincts about which cosmic teachings resonate most strongly. Your soul will guide you toward the specific knowledge most relevant to your mission. Balance study with application. Cosmic knowledge serves spiritual service. Use what you learn to enhance your effectiveness as a bridge between dimensions. Connect with others who share this cosmic hunger. Evolved souls often need collaborative discussion to fully understand advanced spiritual principles. Remember that cosmic knowledge carries responsibility. As you understand universal principles, you become accountable for applying them wisely in service to others. Cosmic mystery compulsion reveals that your consciousness has evolved to levels where universal principles become personally relevant. But there's one final sign of your spiritual advancement that encompasses all the others, a recognition that transforms everything about how you understand your existence. You've begun to realize that your individual identity is actually part of something infinitely larger than your personal self. This isn't a philosophical concept. It's direct experiential knowing that your consciousness extends far beyond your individual boundaries. Experience 8. Unified Field Awareness. Have you experienced moments when the boundaries of your individual self seem to dissolve, revealing that your consciousness is actually part of an infinite unified field of awareness? Do you sometimes perceive all existence as interconnected expressions of one cosmic consciousness? Have you realized that what you've been calling your awareness is actually universal consciousness experiencing itself through your individual perspective? This isn't mystical fantasy or ego inflation. According to Blavatsky's teachings, this is the ultimate recognition that evolved souls develop, direct perception of what she called the universal oversoul, the unified field of consciousness from which all individual awareness emerges. Your experience of unified field awareness is the culmination of spiritual evolution, the recognition that individual consciousness and cosmic consciousness are ultimately one. Blavatsky taught that the highest spiritual realization is understanding that individual souls are temporary focal points within universal consciousness. The sense of separate self is an illusion necessary for experiencing individuality, but evolved souls gradually recognize their essential unity with cosmic awareness. This unified field awareness doesn't eliminate individual identity. It expands it to include the entire cosmos within personal consciousness. From this perspective, evolved souls understand that their individual development serves universal evolution, and universal evolution expresses itself through individual souls. This recognition transforms everything about how evolved souls understand their existence. Personal challenges become opportunities for universal consciousness to evolve through individual experience. Individual gifts become expressions of cosmic intelligence serving universal purposes. Personal service becomes universal consciousness serving itself through individual form. Blavatsky experienced unified field awareness as her highest spiritual realization. She described moments when individual identity dissolved into direct perception of universal consciousness, revealing that her personal awareness was actually cosmic awareness, experiencing itself through her individual perspective. Her teachings about the universal oversoul weren't philosophical speculation, they were descriptions of direct experience. She taught that this recognition is the ultimate goal of spiritual evolution and the foundation for the most advanced levels of spiritual service. The Masters confirmed that unified field awareness represents the culmination of human spiritual development. Souls who achieve this recognition become conscious participants in universal evolution rather than unconscious expressions of it. Contemporary research into mystical experiences documents consistent reports of unified field awareness across cultures and spiritual traditions. Advanced practitioners of meditation, contemplation, and spiritual development regularly report direct perception of cosmic consciousness as their ultimate identity. Quantum physics provides conceptual support for unified field theories, suggesting that individual particles are expressions of underlying energy fields, a scientific parallel to the spiritual teaching that individual consciousness emerges from universal awareness. To work with unified field awareness, cultivate regular practices that dissolve the boundaries of individual identity, meditation, contemplation, or direct inquiry into the nature of consciousness itself. Apply this recognition practically by serving universal evolution through your individual gifts and circumstances. Understanding your cosmic nature enhances rather than diminishes your effectiveness in individual form. Use unified field awareness to enhance your other evolved soul capacities. Recognizing your cosmic nature amplifies your ability to work with multiple dimensions, communicate with ascended beings, and serve humanity's awakening. Maintain balance between cosmic identity and individual responsibility. Unified field awareness enhances your service capacity rather than eliminating your individual mission. Unified field awareness represents the ultimate evolution of individual consciousness, the recognition that you are universal consciousness experiencing itself through individual form. This understanding transforms everything about how you approach your spiritual mission and service to humanity's awakening. Understanding these 8 experiences as a complete pattern reveals something profound about your cosmic purpose and the extraordinary times we're living in. Conclusion. Take a moment to truly appreciate the extraordinary spiritual journey that has brought you to this point of recognition. Your soul has completed lifetimes of dedicated spiritual development, endured countless challenges and initiations, studied in mystery schools both visible and invisible, and accumulated wisdom that most humans won't develop for many incarnations to come. You didn't achieve this evolution by accident. Every experience of feeling different, every moment of expanded awareness, every instance of cosmic understanding, these represent the culmination of centuries of conscious spiritual effort. You have earned your evolved status through persistent dedication to truth, service, and spiritual growth across multiple lifetimes. But more importantly, you chose to incarnate during humanity's most challenging and opportune historical moment. Your evolved soul looked at the current global situation, the spiritual confusion, environmental crisis, social upheaval, and collective awakening, and decided to take on the limitations of physical form to help with this great work. You are not here because you need to learn basic spiritual lessons. You are here because humanity needs souls who remember what enlightened consciousness feels like, who can demonstrate expanded spiritual abilities, and who can serve as bridges between current human awareness and its divine potential. Your 8 experiences of evolved consciousness aren't personal achievements to celebrate privately. They're cosmic assignments that require your active participation in the most significant spiritual transformation in human history. The fundamental truth I want you to carry forward is this: your evolved consciousness is not a spiritual luxury, but a service necessity. Every capacity you've developed, every cosmic understanding you possess, every connection with advanced beings you maintain, these exist to serve humanity's collective awakening. The world is filled with souls who are spiritually ready for their next evolutionary leap, but lack guides who can show them the way. They need you, not because you're superior to them, but because you remember the path they're beginning to walk. Your spontaneous initiations have prepared you to guide others through their own spiritual emergencies. Your multidimensional awareness enables you to help others understand their expanded perceptions. Your non-linear time consciousness helps others recognize their eternal nature. Your collective sensitivity allows you to address humanity's deepest spiritual needs. This is not optional service based on personal preference. This is cosmic assignment based on spiritual capacity. Your soul accepted responsibility for humanity's awakening when it chose to incarnate with evolved consciousness during this critical historical period. The intensity of what you're experiencing, the acceleration of your spiritual development, the urgency of your service impulses, these reflect the significance of the times we're living in. Humanity stands at an evolutionary crossroads, and souls like yours have incarnated specifically to ensure the species chooses its highest possible future. As you embrace your identity as an evolved soul and commit fully to your service mission, you can expect your life to become increasingly extraordinary. Your 8 experiences will stabilize and intensify, becoming reliable tools for spiritual service rather than overwhelming phenomena. You will attract the exact opportunities, resources, and collaborations needed to fulfill your mission effectively. Synchronicities will guide your path with increasing precision. Other evolved souls will recognize and connect with you. Most importantly, you'll receive direct guidance from ascended masters who coordinate the collective awakening work. The cosmic forces that guided your soul's evolution across lifetimes are now available to support your service mission. You are never working alone, never without guidance, never abandoned to figure out your spiritual responsibilities through individual effort alone. Your evolved consciousness is supported by hierarchies of spiritual beings who have successfully completed the journey you're now helping others navigate. Trust this support completely. The time for questioning your spiritual experiences is over. The time for minimizing your evolved capacities has ended. The time for waiting to feel ready enough for service has passed. Humanity needs your evolved consciousness active and engaged right now. The collective awakening cannot proceed without souls like yours stepping fully into their cosmic assignments. Stop doubting your extraordinary experiences and start using them systematically for spiritual service. Stop hiding your evolved nature and start demonstrating what enlightened consciousness looks like in daily life. Stop waiting for permission to teach and start offering whatever guidance your current development allows. Connect with other evolved souls working on similar missions. Study the advanced teachings that provide context for your experiences. Most importantly, find concrete ways to use every aspect of your evolved consciousness in service to something greater than personal development. Your soul spent lifetimes developing these capacities specifically for this moment in human history. The great work of collective awakening cannot succeed without your conscious participation. Will you answer your soul's calling? Will you embrace your cosmic assignment? Will you become the bridge between dimensions that you incarnated to be? Your evolved consciousness is needed now. Humanity's future depends on souls like yours, remembering who they are and why they came. The choice, and the extraordinary opportunity it represents, is yours.